Good morning, class. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting but also a very serious topic, which is elephant abuse, the Thai tourism industry's dark secret. In today's class, we're going to finish four things. The first thing, we're going to talk about the reading. And the second thing, we're going to talk about the key vocabulary in the reading. And the third thing, we're going to take a look at one very important sentence pattern in this paragraph. And we will have assignment for today, okay? So please get prepared and take out your textbook. We're now going to have a lesson right now. So let's take a look at the reading section. In the previous lesson, we have learned that there is one force that leads to elephant abuse. Do you guys still remember that? Yes, it is the demand for tourism in Thailand, right? People loves riding elephants, and that kind of need will create a chain of elephant abuse. So speaking of the chain of abuse, we're going to take a look at the suffering of those elephants. So first of all, the hunters will lure young elephants and kill the older ones in order to make their business sustainable. So after the young elephants have been confined and sold to the camp, they're going to suffer a new round of torturing and taming. So you can see that the hunters or the trainers will hit elephants with whips and also nails in order to make them obedient, right? So the real horror does not end, right? We all know that is just the beginning because the real horror just starts afterwards, okay? So this will be related with today's lesson. So before we move on to talk about the details, I'm going to ask you three questions. So what will happen to those elephants after being tamed? Second question, how does the author connect his ideas? And what let the abuse continue? So before I talk more about the details, you can try to think about these questions by reading the paragraph carefully by yourself. So you can pause here and you can come back after you finish your reading. Okay, I think you all have finished your reading. So let's take a look at the details in this paragraph. So the first thing is the elephants will suffer from permanent back injuries. Permanent back injuries. Permanent means that something will be last forever or that is irreversible. So you can see that because humans have weight, and that kind of weight will damage elephant's spine, which is the backbone of the elephant. So if the elephants keep carrying people for a long time, their bones will be damaged, therefore hurt their back forever. And the second thing is you can see that the trainers or maybe the owner of the farm did not get elephants enough food. They are denied to get sufficient food and water. Therefore, it therefore makes them very tired or makes them feel exhausted, right? So, and the last thing is, while they are working, the elephants were still being beaten in order to make them more obedient and to control their animal behavior. So you can see that a new series of torture will still be ongoing because of humans' need. So moving on to the second question, did you discover any kinds of differences or what kind of strategy did the author use to connect his ideas? Of course, I think you can all notice some of the details. You can see that for the first argument and the second argument, the author used what's more to connect with these arguments. And for the second one and the third one, you can see that the author used words still. So you can see that there's different layers that have been built up with these words. And these words, we call them very good transitional words. So you can see that the author used transitional words to connect with his ideas and create a different layers. You can see that with the transitional words, you can arrange your topic and you can also talk about your ideas very clearly. So because now you're moving on, you are going to prepare for your GSAT writing test, right? So this kind of strategy or this kind of skill is very useful when you're going to describe a series of ideas. So please put this idea in mind, okay? So for the last question, how come this series or how come this kind of tragedy did not end? So you can see that the chain has been still going on. And how come this kind of chain did not end here? So I think in the last paragraph, the author also give us a very clear answer. Supply never comes without demand. So you can see that people enjoys that, therefore create a new round of supply, and this kind of chain will not be stopped. So it is high time that we dealt with the roots of this problem. We should do something before everything gets too late. So in the last paragraph, the author only mentioned about that you can go to a zoo or go to a legal place for elephant, maybe a legal place for you to enjoy that kind of entertainment. But I want to ask you more. I want you to challenge yourself. Can you think of any new ways or other than that to end the chain of abuse? Do you have any better ideas? You can try to think about that after class because this question will be served as one of your assignments for today's lesson. Okay, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can just type on the comment link or leave on the Google Classroom. I will look at it and answer it after the class. So let's move on to the vocabulary. Okay, for the first word I'm going to introduce is vulnerable. It means someone or something is able to be hurt in body or feelings. You can also think of some of the synonyms like prone or susceptible. And in the sentence, you can also use someone or something is prone, is susceptible, or is vulnerable to something. For example, you can also use invulnerable or protected to describe someone is not be able to be hurt in body or feelings. You can also use this word in a sentence like this. So as tensions in the region rise and military threats escalate, Taiwan has never been more vulnerable to invasion, which means that Taiwan is in a very dangerous status. And the second meaning is that someone is open to attack or damage, means that someone is in a weak status. For example, you can also use this word to describe children or position, means that children that are very weak or someone is in a very unsteady or even a dangerous position. So I think this example sentence may relate it to some of your classmates. For example, during group projects, shy students often feel vulnerable when sharing their ideas aloud because they're afraid that maybe their ideas may be challenged or attacked by classmates. Okay, and for the non-type, you have to be careful because its pronunciation is vulnerability. Okay, it's the quality of being vulnerable or things that are vulnerable. Okay, so here the example sentence looks like this: nature's vulnerability reveals the delicate balance that sustains life. Each element plays a vital role in the nature, and that's what makes nature fragile. Move on to the next word. The next word is exhaust, which means make someone feel very tired. I think for this one, you can try to think of some of the synonyms. So for example, you can have tire, drain, or devitalize, right? These are the good words for you to describe someone when someone is tired. There are also some antonyms, for example, refresh or revive. So for the example sentence, I think this one can also relate it to you, is the constant study pressure begin to exhaust every student. Yeah, because studying is very tired, I know that. So for the second meaning is that you can also use exhaust to talk about someone use up resources completely. For example, you can exhaust resources maybe someone can exhaust his patience or exhaust all the options. So, for example, preparing for university entrance exams exhausted his time and patience. And for the exhaust, it can also serve as a noun, which means waste gases. For example, car exhaust is the main reason for the city's pollution. The waste gas of car pollute the city. And in the reading, you can also see that the exhaustion, which is the state of being extremely tired, the exhaustion can also serve as the action of using up a thing. For example, you can feel ill or collapse or recover from exhaustion. And here I provide you with another example, which is heat exhaustion, because heat exhaustion is a kind of status that you are too tired and after you sweat a lot. So heat exhaustion is caused by excessive sweating. Okay, so let's move on to the sentence pattern. In this reading, you can see that the author actually encouraged us to do something, and he used a very specific sentence pattern, which is it is high time. So it is high time, or it is about time for someone to do something, or it is high time that someone did something is our key sentence today. So there are some differences between the usage of high and about. If you use high, it means that you're going to use a stronger tone. But if you use about, there's a weak tone for just for suggestion. So you can see that there are two options for you. You can use it is high time, it is about time that someone did something. Or you can also, because you when you use past tense, because this is a sentence pattern that emphasizes the strong emotion towards the past thing, because something was not done in the past. So you use the past tense verb to express the urgency, the frustration, and the criticism toward the past fact. So you use the past tense verb to describe that kind of emotion. Or you can also use it is high time, it is about time for someone to do something. Okay, so I think these are the basic structure of this sentence. So let's now move on to practice a little bit. So you have to correct the sentence by yourself. So please read the sentence and maybe think about what's wrong with the sentence. Good, you can see that the stop did not turn into a past tense verb, right? How about this one? Yes, you can see that it's about time for you to do the dishes. You don't have to you cannot confuse with this one. Okay, that's about the last one. Yes, it is high time that he was here. You cannot confuse this sentence pattern with the conditional sentences. Okay, try to remember that. So remember the sentence structure and try not to misuse this one, because sometimes this kind of sentence pattern will be confused with conditional sentences. Okay, so in today's lesson we actually learned a lot. We learned about the chain of the abuse, and we talk about important vocabulary, and we also talk about a very important sentence pattern. So I will have assignment for you for today and for the next lesson. So I remember I just asked you about this question: how can you end the chain of abuse? So in today's assignment, I want you to write a 100-word passage and upload it to Google Classroom. Of course, there are some basic requirements. So you have to choose one possible stakeholders in this kind of chain, and you have to write 2 paragraphs. First of all, you have to introduce yourself, and second of all, you have to describe what you can do to address this abuse. And you have to use it is high time or it is about time in your essay. I give you an example sentence. I give you an example passage in the Google Classroom. You can take your time and read it after class. And also you have to share one thing you learned or one question you have in this form. Okay, so for the next class, we are going to share your assignments, and maybe we can check what happened or what's wrong with the assignment. Okay, so if there is no questions, class dismissed.